The battle was already lost. The Galactic Alliance fleet floated like broken debris in the darkness of space, their remaining warships struggling to hold the line against the Dominion's overwhelming firepower. Plasma cannons and energy torpedoes ripped through the void, lighting up the battlefield like dying stars. Admiral Tor of the Vorith species watched in grim silence from the Valiant, the flagship of the Alliance. His 6 eyes scanned the holographic display, calculating the odds. They were bad. The Dominion's forces were 3 times stronger, and the last defensive lines were already crumbling. "Admiral," one of his officers called out, voice shaky, "we have incoming Dominion dreadnoughts on the right flank." Tor tightened his claws. They had fought bravely, but this was the end. There would be no reinforcements, no miracles. The Alliance had already sent distress signals, but the nearest support was days away. The Dominion commander, a ruthless reptilian warlord named Korgath, appeared on the communication screen, his sharp teeth bared in a wicked grin. "Surrender, Tor," he sneered. "Your fleet is finished. You will kneel before the Dominion or die like the rest of your kind." Tor refused to show weakness. "We would rather die than submit." Korgath laughed. "Then I shall grant your wish." He motioned to his weapons officer, and within seconds, a rain of plasma missiles began falling toward the last remaining Alliance ships. Suddenly, the control room's alarms blared. A new alert appeared on the main screen. "Warning! Unidentified war vessel DTCT approaching AT high velocity." Tor's brow furrowed. "What is this?" His officers frantically checked the readings. The scanners showed a single massive warship, much larger than any known Alliance vessel, moving straight toward the battlefield. "Admiral, we're getting a transmission." "Put it through." The screen flickered, and a deep, calm voice echoed through the bridge. "Hope you don't mind us crashing the party." The voice was unmistakably human. Tor's 6 eyes widened. Impossible. Humans had not been seen in a major battle in years. Their forces were small, their empire isolated. Yet there it was, a lone human warship, appearing out of nowhere. Then the name of the vessel came into focus. HSS Indomitable. Gasps filled the bridge. Every species in the galaxy had heard the name. The Indomitable was a legend, said to be humanity's deadliest warship, a ghost that appeared only in the darkest moments of war. Dominion sensors detected the threat and immediately responded. "Commander Korgath," an officer warned. "That's a human war vessel. Titan class. Heavily armed." Korgath snarled. "I don't care. Destroy it." The Dominion's fleet turned its weapons toward the new arrival, but the Indomitable didn't wait. It opened fire first. The first shots from the HSS Indomitable hit like a thunderstorm. Massive kinetic railgun slugs tore through Dominion warships, ripping them apart like paper. Plasma beams followed, slicing through enemy shields, turning once powerful dreadnoughts into burning wrecks. The battlefield, once dominated by the Dominion, now belonged to the human warship. Admiral Tor and his crew watched in stunned silence. They had heard stories about human warships, but this was beyond imagination. One single vessel was pushing back an entire fleet. "Admiral," a Vorith officer stammered, "the Indomitable's firepower, it's unreal." Tor's 6 eyes focused on the display. The human ship wasn't just powerful. It was fast, brutal, and relentless. Unlike the Alliance's sleek, defensive ships, this was a machine of pure destruction. Meanwhile, on the Dominion flagship, Commander Korgath's confidence was fading. "Report," he growled. "Commander," a Dominion officer cried, "we've lost 4 cruisers and 2 battleships. Their weapons are unlike anything we've faced before." Korgath bared his fangs. "How can a single ship do this? Humans are supposed to be weak." But the evidence was clear. The Indomitable was built differently. It was not like any other warship in the galaxy. Inside the Indomitable's command deck, Captain Elias Graves stood with a calm expression. His piercing blue eyes scanned the battlefield, analyzing every move like a grandmaster in a deadly game. "Status?" he asked. His weapons officer grinned. "All railguns locked. Plasma arrays ready to fire again. The Dominion fleet is already pulling back." Graves smirked. "They should. But we're not done yet." He turned to his communications officer. "Send a message to the Dominion commander." A moment later, Korgath's screen flickered. Captain Graves appeared. "Commander Korgath," Graves said, his voice steady. "I suggest you retreat before we turn the rest of your fleet into scrap." Korgath snarled. "You are outnumbered. One ship cannot win a war." Graves tilted his head. "One ship is all we need." Before Korgath could respond, the Indomitable launched its next attack, hypervelocity torpedoes. They pierced through Dominion shields, detonating inside their capital ships with blinding explosions. More Dominion warships crumbled, burning in the cold vacuum of space. The once mighty Dominion fleet was now in full retreat. Admiral Xeltor's officers cheered. Hope had returned. Xeltor himself exhaled, shaking his head in disbelief. "Humans," he muttered. "They are more dangerous than legends say." But Captain Graves wasn't celebrating. He watched the fleeing enemy ships and gave his next order. "Pursue them." The Indomitable wasn't here to save the Alliance. It was here to end the war. The Indomitable moved like a predator in the battlefield, hunting down the Dominion fleet. Its railguns fired in rapid succession, launching projectiles faster than the eye could see. Each shot punched through Dominion warships, shattering their armor, sending debris spiraling into space. The Alliance forces, still recovering from the brutal assault, watched in disbelief. This is impossible," one of Admiral Xeltor's officers whispered. "How can one ship do this?" Xeltor himself had no answer. The Indomitable was not fighting like any other warship in the galaxy. It didn't retreat, it didn't hold back, and it didn't fear the enemy. On the Dominion flagship, Commander Korgath was losing control. "Evasive maneuvers. Fire all weapons at that ship," he barked. His gunners obeyed, unleashing a storm of plasma and missile fire toward the human warship. But the Indomitable was ready. "Enemy counterattack incoming," called out the human ship's tactical officer. Captain Elias Graves stood firm. "Activate Aegis shields. Redirect power to forward armor." Within seconds, a shimmering blue barrier covered the Indomitable's hull. The enemy plasma blasts collided with the shield and dispersed harmlessly. Dominion torpedoes exploded against its reinforced armor, barely scratching the surface. The Indomitable kept advancing. Inside the Dominion flagship, fear spread among the crew. Their shields absorbed everything. "Their armor is indestructible." Korgath slammed his fist on the control panel. "That's impossible. No ship can take that much fire and keep moving." But the truth was clear. Humans had built their warships for endurance, destruction, and dominance. Graves smirked. "Now it's our turn." The Indomitable's main plasma cannon charged up, glowing like a rising sun. The moment it reached full power, boom! A blazing energy blast erupted, striking a Dominion battlecruiser head-on. The impact ripped through its core, causing a massive chain reaction. The battlecruiser exploded into a fiery cloud, and the shockwave sent nearby Dominion ships tumbling. The battlefield fell into silence. The Dominion fleet had never seen such power. Their forces, once confident in their victory, were now panicking. Admiral Xeltor's eyes widened. They're breaking formation. They're afraid. For the first time in the war, the Dominion was retreating. On the Indomitable, Graves gave his final order. "Broadcast a message to all Dominion ships." A moment later, the entire Dominion fleet received a transmission. Graves' voice was calm, but filled with authority. "Run. Tell your leaders what happened here today. Tell them that humanity has entered the war." The Dominion ships, beaten and terrified, activated their jump drives and vanished into hyperspace. The battle was over, but the war had just begun. The battlefield was silent. Wreckage floated in the darkness, the remains of Dominion warships still burning in the void. The Indomitable stood victorious, a lone titan among the ruins of battle. On the Alliance flagship, Admiral Xeltor still couldn't believe what had happened. One ship, he muttered, shaking his head. One human warship changed everything. His officers were speechless. The Alliance had been losing, its fleets shattered, its forces demoralized. Yet, in just a few minutes, the Indomitable had turned the tide. The Dominion, an empire feared across the galaxy, had flowed in terror. Xeltor turned to his communications officer. Open a channel to the Indomitable. A few seconds later, the screen flickered, and the image of Captain Elias Graves appeared. Admiral Xeltor, Graves said casually, as if nothing extraordinary had happened. You're welcome. Xeltor straightened. Captain Graves, I must admit, I have never seen anything like your ship before. Graves smirked. That's because there's nothing like it. Xeltor narrowed his eyes. Why did you help us? Humans have avoided major battles for years. Your fleets are small. Your empire keeps its distance. Why now? Graves leaned forward. His voice was calm but firm. You don't understand humans, Admiral. We don't start wars. But when someone threatens us, when we see oppression and cruelty, we don't back down. We end it. Xeltor remained silent. He had heard stories about human history, how they had survived their own wars, their own struggles, always adapting, always fighting back. But now he was seeing it with his own eyes. Graves continued, his tone unshaken. The Dominion made a mistake today. They showed weakness. And when humans see weakness in an enemy, we don't let them recover. Xeltor's eyes widened. You're not stopping here, are you? Graves smirked. Oh no, Admiral. This was just a warning shot. Suddenly, alarms blared across the Indomitable's bridge. A new fleet was approaching. A Dominion reinforcement fleet. Looks like they want a second round, Graves muttered, cracking his knuckles. Xeltor checked the readings. The Dominion had sent an entire battle group, nearly 50 warships. Captain Graves, Xeltor said urgently. That's too many. Even for you. Graves only grinned. Too many. Admiral, you don't get it. He turned to his crew. Bring the Indomitable to full power. Lock weapons on their command ship. Prepare for maximum aggression. Xeltor's heart pounded as he saw the Indomitable's cannons charging up once more. Graves looked at the incoming enemy fleet and gave a single command. Let's show them what war really means. The Dominion reinforcement fleet arrived in perfect formation, their warships stretching across the battlefield like a wall of death. 50 heavily armed vessels, including 3 dreadnoughts, formed a tight battle line. Inside the Indomitable's bridge, Captain Elias Graves studied the tactical display with sharp eyes. The enemy thought numbers would save them. They really don't understand humans, he muttered. Admiral Xeltor, watching from his own flagship, felt a sense of dread. Captain Graves, he spoke over the comms, I strongly advise retreating. That fleet is. Graves cut him off. Retreat. Admiral, we're just getting started. Xeltor's 6 eyes widened. You're going to engage them. Graves smirked. Watch and learn. He turned to his tactical officer. Target the lead dreadnought. Full railgun barrage. The Indomitable's cannons roared to life. 4 hypervelocity railgun slugs fired in quick succession, each traveling at incredible speed. The lead Dominion dreadnought's shields flashed brightly, trying to hold, but they were not built to withstand human kinetic weaponry. The first 2 rounds shattered the shield. The third one punched through the hull. The fourth one hit the core reactor. A moment later, the dreadnought erupted in a massive explosion, tearing apart everything nearby. Silence fell across the Dominion fleet. Xeltor watched, speechless. By the stars, one of his officers whispered, The Indomitable didn't wait. It charged forward, straight into the enemy fleet. "Brace for combat," Graves commanded. Dominion warships opened fire, sending a storm of plasma and missile strikes toward the human warship. "Activate Aegis shields. Redirect power to forward armor," Graves barked. The Indomitable took the hits and kept moving. Plasma bolts splashed against its shield, torpedoes exploded against its thick plating, but the ship refused to slow down. Inside the Dominion command ship, panic spread. "They're coming right at us." Commander Korgath slammed his fist. "Impossible. No ship should survive this much firepower." Yet the Indomitable was not just surviving, it was winning. "Launch hypervelocity torpedoes," Graves ordered. 4 torpedoes shot out, moving too fast for the Dominion ships to react. They pierced through enemy cruisers, leaving nothing but wreckage. More Dominion ships exploded, their fleets breaking apart. Their perfect formation turned into chaos. Some warships tried to retreat. Others fired wildly, hoping to land a lucky shot. None of it mattered. The Indomitable was unstoppable. Watching the massacre, Xeltor finally understood. This wasn't just another warship. This was human warfare in its purest form. And the Dominion was not prepared for it. The Dominion fleet was crumbling. Warships were retreating, their once perfect formation now shattered. The Indomitable continued its relentless assault, tearing through enemy lines with brutal precision. But Captain Elias Graves had no intention of letting the Dominion escape. "They still have their command ship, sir," the tactical officer reported. "It's retreating." Graves smirked. "Not for long." He turned to his crew. "Prepare a boarding team. We're taking that ship." A sudden hush fell over the Indomitable's bridge. Boarding an enemy capital ship was dangerous. Most commanders would never attempt it. But Graves was not most commanders. "Sir," his officer hesitated. "You mean to capture it?" Graves nodded. "I want their commander alive. Time to show the Dominion what human warriors can do." The Indomitable's engines roared, pushing forward. It dodged incoming fire, closed the distance, and latched onto the Dominion flagship using magnetic grapples. Inside the Dominion ship, Commander Korgath felt true fear for the first time. "They're boarding us," an officer shouted. Korgath snarled. "Let them come. We'll slaughter them." But he didn't understand who he was dealing with. The boarding begins. The Indomitable's airlocks hissed open, and human Marines stormed the Dominion ship. They'd move like ghosts, fast and disciplined, their armor built for brutal, close-quarters combat. Dominion warriors met them in the corridors, expecting an easy fight. They were wrong. The humans fought with terrifying efficiency. While Dominion soldiers relied on brute strength, human Marines used strategy, adaptability, and precision. They moved as one, covering each other, using advanced weapons that cut through the enemy like a hot blade through ice. Korgath's warriors fell one by one. The Dominion commander watched in horror through security feeds. This is not possible," he whispered. Humans weren't just fighters. They were predators. And they were coming for him. Face to face with the enemy. Korgath grabbed his weapon and stood at the command deck's entrance, waiting for the humans to arrive. The doors exploded open. Smoke filled the room. And through the haze, Captain Graves stepped in. Behind him, his Marines spread out, their weapons aimed. They had taken the ship. Korgath bared his teeth. "I will not kneel before a human." Graves chuckled. "Good. That saves time." Then, with lightning speed, he drew his pistol and shot Korgath's weapon out of his hand. The Dominion commander froze. Graves stepped closer. "You thought we were weak." His voice was low, dangerous. "Now tell me, who's weak now?" Korgath, for the first time in his life, had no answer. Commander Korgath stood frozen, his weapon lying on the floor, his claws twitching with hesitation. For the first time in his life, he knew what true fear felt like. The Indomitable's Marines surrounded him, their weapons locked and ready. These humans didn't just fight to win. They fought to dominate. Captain Elias Graves took another step forward, his piercing gaze locked onto the defeated Dominion leader. "You thought humans were weak," Graves said, his voice calm but filled with authority. "That was your mistake." Korgath snarled, trying to mask his fear. "You are reckless. One ship cannot defeat an empire." Graves smirked. "We don't need an empire. We just need a reason." A cold silence filled the Dominion command deck. The meaning behind his words was clear. Humans didn't fight for conquest. They fought for survival, for vengeance, for their own. And when humans had a reason to fight, they didn't stop until their enemy was broken. The Dominion's last attempt. Suddenly, an alarm blared across the Dominion command ship. "Commander," a terrified officer shouted through the ship's speakers, "we are receiving a direct transmission from Dominion High Command. They are ordering us to self-destruct the ship." Korgath's eyes widened. His own empire was abandoning him. Graves sighed. Predictable. Korgath turned to him, desperate now. You must let me go. I can stop this." Graves shook his head. "Not my problem." The Marines raised their rifles. Korgath lunged in a last, desperate attack, his claws aiming for Graves' throat. Bang! A single gunshot echoed in the chamber. Korgath staggered backward, a smoking bullet wound in his leg. He collapsed to the floor, groaning in pain. Graves holstered his pistol. "I said stay down." The Dominion commander looked up, his pride shattered. He had underestimated humanity. They were not prey. They were predators. And now he was at their mercy. The escape, the self-destruct countdown began ticking down. Graves turned to his team. "We have what we need. Let's go." The Marines dragged Korgath to his feet and moved quickly through the corridors, retracing their steps back to the Indomitable. Explosions began shaking the Dominion ship, fires bursting through the halls. The humans moved with perfect precision, covering each other, moving in unison, a stark contrast to the chaos among the Dominion's remaining crew. As the docking bay came into view, the Indomitable's grappling arms detached and its ramp lowered. The team boarded just in time. With a thunderous roar, the Indomitable pulled away, leaving the Dominion flagship behind as it exploded into a massive fireball. The enemy fleet, leaderless and terrified, scattered in panic. Watching from his command chair, Graves exhaled. This war just changed. The Indomitable sailed through the debris of the Dominion flagship, its crew silent in the aftermath of the battle. The once proud Dominion fleet, now shattered and leaderless, was nothing more than a broken collection of wreckage floating in space. The explosion of the flagship still echoed across the void, a symbol of humanity's raw power. Captain Elias Graves leaned back in his chair, staring at the stars outside. The battle was over, but the war was far from won. "Status report," Graves asked, his voice low but steady. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Jenna Cole, quickly scanned the data. "The Dominion fleet is retreating, sir. The remaining ships are in full flight, heading toward the outer systems. The Alliance has also confirmed the retreat and is regrouping." Graves nodded. "Good. Let them run. We've made our point." As the Indomitable drifted through the space around them, Admiral Xeltor's voice crackled over the comms. "Captain Graves, we owe you our thanks. The Dominion is retreating, and we can begin to rebuild. The Alliance would be finished without you." Graves chuckled. "You owe me nothing, Admiral. We're just here to finish what we started. But I'm glad you're alive to talk about it." Xeltor's voice softened. "You've shown us the true power of humanity. The Dominion thought they were invincible, but you crushed that illusion." Graves didn't respond right away. Instead, he looked out at the empty void of space. It was hard to explain, but there was something about the way the humans fought that made them different. They didn't just aim to win. They aimed to send a message. Fear spreads across the galaxy. The news of humanity's victory spread fast. Word of the Indomitable's power reached the farthest corners of the galaxy, and suddenly, the entire universe seemed to recognize one undeniable truth. Humans were a force to be reckoned with. On the Dominion homeworld, the High Council of War gathered in their dark, cold chambers. Their empire had never known defeat, not like this. They had faced countless enemies, but humans, they were different. The Dominion had underestimated them. How did this happen? One of the council members demanded. A single ship, and they wiped out our fleet. Our forces were many times stronger. Another council member slammed his fist on the table. It wasn't just the ship, it was the humans themselves. They fight with an intensity we've never seen. It's as if they don't know fear. In the shadows, an older council member spoke, his voice cold and sharp. They're not like us. We conquered worlds with strength and fear. But humans, they conquer with determination. They'll fight until there's nothing left to fight for. One of the younger members hesitated. Should we retreat entirely? Leave the galaxy to them? The elder member shook his head. No, we can't leave, but we must approach them differently. If we continue to underestimate them, we'll be wiped out. A new war begins. Back on the Indomitable, Graves stared at the galaxy beyond. The battle was over, but he knew the real war was just beginning. The Dominion had learned a lesson the hard way, but there were other enemies out there. You did good today, Lieutenant Cole said as she approached Graves. But what happens now? Graves didn't turn to her immediately. His eyes remained fixed on the stars. Now, we wait. We wait for them to realize that they've made a bigger mistake than they think. The sound of the Indomitable's engines hummed softly in the background as the ship sailed through the quiet space. But inside, the crew knew something had changed forever. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage, and now no one would forget their name. The galaxy would never be the same again. The battlefield was quiet now. Wreckage floated in space, the remains of a once powerful Dominion fleet. The Indomitable stood alone, like a titan watching over the ruins of its enemies. Inside the command deck, Captain Elias Graves observed the fading enemy signals. The Dominion was running. Lieutenant Jenna Cole turned to him. Sir, the enemy fleet is retreating. They're not even trying to regroup. Graves smirked. They learned their lesson. A voice crackled over the communication channel. It was Admiral Seltor of the Alliance. Captain Graves, I never thought I'd see the day the Dominion ran from a battle. Graves leaned back in his chair. That's because they've never fought humans before. Zeltor hesitated before speaking again. We should celebrate this victory, but I don't think this war is over. Graves nodded. He already knew. The Dominion wouldn't accept this loss. They would return, and next time, they wouldn't underestimate humanity. Sir, Cole interrupted. Incoming reports from all over the galaxy. The news is spreading. Every faction is talking about us. Graves exhaled. And what are they saying? Cole looked at her screen, reading the reports. Fear. She turned back to him. They're afraid of us, Captain. Graves didn't react. He expected this. Humans were newcomers to the galactic stage, and now, after a single battle, they were the most feared species in the galaxy. The Dominion's response. Far away, in the Dominion capital, the Supreme Council was in chaos. High Commander Zorvac, leader of the Dominion, slammed his fist on the war table. How? How did this happen? A general stepped forward, his voice trembling. The humans, they are not like the others. They don't fight like us. Zorvac glared at him. What do you mean? The general swallowed hard. They don't fight for territory. They don't fight for power. They fight to destroy their enemies completely. Silence fell over the chamber. They came with one ship, Zorvac growled. And they broke an entire fleet. He turned to his advisors. If they send more, what will happen to us? The council members exchanged uneasy glances. The answer was clear. The Dominion was not prepared for war with humanity. A message to the galaxy. Back on the Indomitable, Graves stood before a screen, preparing a transmission to the entire galaxy. The camera blinked red. He was live. "This is Captain Elias Graves of the HSS Indomitable. Let this battle be a message to all who think humanity is weak." He leaned closer, his voice calm but firm. "We do not start wars." His eyes darkened. "But when we fight, we finish them." The transmission ended. The entire galaxy had just been put on notice. The message had been sent. The entire galaxy had heard Captain Elias Graves' words. It was not just a declaration of victory. It was a warning. The Indomitable drifted through the debris of the battlefield, its hull scared but its presence unchallenged. The Dominion was gone, defeated. The Alliance had survived. But the war was far from over. On the bridge, Graves stood in silence, staring at the stars. Lieutenant Jenna Cole approached him. "Sir, we're receiving transmissions from multiple factions. Some are nervous." Graves smirked. "Nervous? They should be." Cole hesitated before speaking again. "Sir, are we ready for what comes next?" Graves exhaled. "Doesn't matter if we are. It's already started." The galactic reaction. Across the galaxy, governments and military leaders watched the footage of the battle in disbelief. In the halls of the Dominion High Command, there was only fear. "They are not like us," one council member whispered. "We cannot fight them the way we fight others," another admitted. "We must change, adapt, or we will not survive." Even the Alliance, who had fought alongside humans, felt uneasy. Admiral Xeltor stood in his war room, watching the battle replay on a holographic screen. He had thought the Dominion was the greatest threat in the galaxy. Now, he wasn't so sure. One of his officers spoke. "Admiral, what do we do if humanity turns against us?" Xeltor closed his eyes. A terrifying question. The Indomitable's next mission. On the Indomitable, the crew was already preparing for the next fight. Engineers repaired systems, weapons were reloaded, and the ship was ready to move again. Graves turned to his officers. "The Dominion will regroup. They will come back stronger." His tactical officer, Commander Briggs, smirked. "And we'll hit them even harder." Graves nodded. "They sent fleets against us, thinking that numbers would win. Next time, they'll try something new." Cole frowned. "What if they try diplomacy?" Graves chuckled. "Then they're already beaten, because the moment they fear us, they've already lost." The crew shared a knowing look. This war had changed. The future of war. The Indomitable's engines powered up, its weapon systems activating once more. One battle had shaken the entire galaxy, but Graves knew the real war had just begun. A new era of warfare had started, and at the center of it stood humanity. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. And if the Dominion or anyone else wanted to test humanity again, they would learn the hard way. As the Indomitable disappeared into the stars, one thing was certain. The war was far from over.